everyone. I hope you guys had a really great weekend and Memorial Day. I'm excited to be back with you guys today to talk about a newer product that we launched on the website. And it's a combination of products that we've had in the past, but we've just combined them. And if you order or work with a lot of our patterns, it's probably something you already noticed, but we are now offering our patterns in sublimation transfer sheets. All right, so if you're already working with patterns, you probably come across this already, but if you haven't and you love working with sublimation as much as I do, then this is going to be a really great way to kind of play with sublimation if you're not printing in-house and just offer full color transfers and designs on apparel fairly easily by just working with this transfer sheet. So I'm going to show you exactly how they work, show you how to order them. And we're also going to be doing a really unique project with Koozies, and we're going to do mixed media with the sublimation and some heat transfer vinyl. So before we dive in, I feel like we can always benefit from a quick review for what sublimation is, because it's not something we talk about a ton. And for those of you that haven't done sublimation in the past, it may just be a whole new ballpark for you. So sublimation is a form of decoration for 100% polyester. So it can be great for apparel, but it's also utilized in hard goods and other accessories like koozies. But the main key thing is to get an accurate application with sublimation is to make sure that that substrate is 100% polyester, because that ultimately is what's going to hold that ink and give it the brightest look and most detailed design that it can. All right, so 100% polyester is definitely the substrate you want to utilize. And a sublimation is a type of ink that is printed out onto a transfer paper, and it adheres directly to the fibers of the 100% polyester substrate. So if you're doing a t-shirt, this ink is going to lock and hold into the fibers of that t-shirt. Or if it's a polyester coated ceramic or tile or something like that that you could be decorating. A lot of people utilize this method for doing a lot of hard goods for promo printing or just onesie-twosie things here and there. So anything polyester. If you're looking for really great blanks for that, I source mine from Coastal Business. So Coastal Business has a variety of 100% polyester blanks so that you know you're working with a substrate that can withhold the heat. So not all polyesters are made the same. There are 100% polyester garments and accessories out there that are made specifically for sublimation. So make sure you're keeping an eye out for that. But yeah, that's the basics of it. And I feel like it's always important to kind of go over a review of that if it's not something that you're constantly working with. Now, some people do go beyond just 100% polyester and do 50-50 blends for a more faded or distressed look, which still works very, very well. But ultimately, if you want that bright, vibrant finish, then 100% polyester is definitely the way to go. So I see some of you guys commenting in. So hello to everybody on YouTube and Facebook. If you have any questions throughout this, feel free to comment in, and I'll be sure to visit the comment section and answer any of those questions. All right, so as I mentioned in the intro of this, if you're just joining, we now offer our patterns in a sublimation transfer. So I'm going to share my screen with you 1 second so that you can see exactly where to source this on our website. So if you go to our heat transfer vinyl under CAD Cut Direct, there's a patterns option. You'll select that and you'll be brought to the patterns generator, where we offer tons and tons of different patterns in different colorways for you to use for your customers or your friends and family, whatever you're utilizing these for. So you go in here, there's a bunch of different categories, anything from holidays to animal prints to different striping and fading effects. So just pick whatever one you want. Expressions is one of my favorite categories because it's just really bright and has a lot of like trendy patterns in it and just really pretty colorways. So let's say, for instance, we wanted to do this chevron pattern. I'll select that. It'll give me the ability to interchange all of these colors, or I can select from the popular colorways. So if I didn't want to do a darker type of colorway, I could do this light and airy one that's incorporating some mint and light pink. Or if I didn't like any of these colorways and I wanted to make my own colorway, I can just select which colors I want to change out, and it will bring up this little color chart that allows me to integrate whatever color I want in there. So I can change any of these out. You'll select which color ultimately that you want to change. So if I wanted the cream to be a pure white, I could change that. All right, so at this point, once you have your pattern and your colorway selected, you'll go to select material, and there's going to be 4 different options. So for those of you familiar with our patterns and working with the patterns, you can see, that we offer a matte heat transfer vinyl, a glitter heat transfer vinyl. We offer them also in our sign vinyl, and now we do the sublimation transfer. So it comes in a 14 by 20 inch sheet. That's a mouthful. So 14 by 20 inch sheets, and 3 of those come in a pack. So if you order 1 pack, 3 of those sheets are going to come in that pack. So just keep that in mind. But 14 by 20 is a pretty big area to be able to work with and design with. So just by ordering 1 pack and 1 pattern, that'll give you a good idea or a good test run, if you will, for the patterns that you want to work with. So the patterns that I selected for today for these koozies, I'm going to be doing the tie-dye pattern that we offer. And then I did this little tropical one that has like little seashells in it. And we're going to be putting Glitter Flake and Fashionfilm Electric on top of these after we fully sublimate them. So whenever you are mixing heat transfer vinyl with sublimation, it's important to think about what heat transfer vinyl is going to work best with these sublimation transfers, because one thing we know about sublimation is if you are putting on a product on top of it, the ink could migrate through and completely change the look and overall finish of what you printed on there. So the 2 heat transfer vinyls we're going to be using for this is Glitter Flake in black. All right, so not all Glitter Flake will actually keep this from migrating through. So even though it is a thick textured heat transfer vinyl, sometimes it can still migrate through. So you want to be really careful about what color you're using to go on top of it. So I chose Glitter Flake in the color black, and then we're going to be using one of my favorite colors from the Fashionfilm Electric line, which is peach. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and load that in there. The first design we're going to cut is the Glitter Flake. So I will bring up my Cricut design space and share my screen with you here. So we're going to do Drink Up, and we're going to pair the Glitter Flake with the tie-dye. So I'm going to send that to cut, just making sure I have my iron on plus setting ready to go there. And then we'll send it to cut. All right, so I do have my mirror on. I'm going to turn the fast mode on and then hit the Cricut button. All right, so we do have a comment in from YouTube. So sorry I missed it. Do the pattern HTV sheets come with a carrier? No, so they do not have a carrier. This isn't something you actually need a carrier for, because we're not vinyl cutting out of these sheets. So one thing I want you guys to keep in mind is not to confuse this with a product from Cricut. I believe it's called Infusible Ink. I could be pronouncing that wrong or saying it wrong, but they offer sublimation sheets that have a backing that you can actually vinyl cut and weed away. So not to be confused with those Infusible Ink transfers from Cricut that you can source from like Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Walmart, any like local craft spot. So these are just basic sublimation transfer paper, and they're just being transferred directly over to whatever substrate you're applying. They're not being vinyl cut or anything like that. So they don't need a carrier or come with one. Yeah, sublimation sheets. All right, so we cut out our Glitter Flake. Now we're going to feed that right back in and cut out the Fashionfilm Electric. right? And I'm just gonna double check to make sure that's exactly where I need it to be on the hair or the sheet here. All right, mirror is on, and we're gonna make sure we have the iron on setting turned on. All right, we're good to go. All right, so just always make sure, based off of the dimension of the heat transfer vinyl that you have loaded in, that you're always making sure you're changing in and out your settings. All right, so the dial, Cricut makes it super easy and very user-friendly for people that are new to cutting heat transfer vinyl. So that little dial is extremely helpful to just be able to turn it back and forth based off of iron on and iron on plus. So use iron on plus for any of your thicker materials and the regular iron on setting for your thin, lightweight heat transfer vinyls. And this is hitting the back of my wall, so I'm just scooting that forward a little bit. All right. How was everyone's Memorial Day weekend? Did you guys do anything fun? Go anywhere? We had really good weather here, but we just did picnics. All right, so it's at 100%, it says on the screen. So now we can go ahead and leave that out. And then we will sublimate using those pattern sheets on the Koozies, and then we will heat apply with the heat transfer vinyl. So the first thing I'm going to weed out is the glitter flake. And I'm going to trim this up actually because there's a lot of excess here. All right, and I did pre-measure these out because whenever you're working with a koozie, you'll notice that there isn't a ton of print area there if you're customizing or personalizing those. So I have this at 3.5 inches in height and width, just to make sure I'm not exceeding it or it's too big to read or notice what it says whenever it's actually on a drink. All right, so that is the design for the black glitter flake. This one's going to be paired with the tie-dye sublimation. And this one is going to be paired with the nautical one. And again, we're making sure we're using a heat transfer vinyl that's going to block any of those dyes from migrating through. So this is Fashionfilm Electric. It's just a natural dye inhibitor because of the metallic forefront of this. It doesn't allow any of those inks to really push through. And please excuse my choppy nail polish on my fingers. I haven't been to a nail tech in months at this point. And I don't do the best job painting them myself. All right, so that is the Fashionfilm Electric in Peach. Again, this is the nautical pattern that we're going to pair this with for that application. And then this is going to be paired with the glitter flake. So although these transfer sheets actually show very diluted looking, that's just the nature of sublimation whenever it's printed onto a transfer paper. So whenever this is actually heat applied, these colors in here are going to be way brighter than how they actually look on this transfer paper. All right, so I do see some questions coming in. Nancy asked, I missed the first 10 minutes. I can't wait to see what we're doing today. So sublimation, we now offer our patterns in a sublimation transfer sheet. So that you don't, if you're not printing sublimation at home, you can just order these and be able to sublimate very easily with these transfer sheets. All right, so I'm going to get my chair out of the way here so that you guys can see what I'm doing at the heat press a little bit better. All right. So again, we are sublimating the Koozies. I'm going to do these front and back, and I'm going to load 2 on at a time. So I'm going to do both of the front, and then I'll add these in second and do the back side so that it has the pattern all over as opposed to just the front side. All right, so just making sure that that's lined up. I'm going to flip that over. Do the same thing here. I love sublimation. I think that it is such a fun thing to work with. However, I am not at all advanced in working with sublimation. So I have really no idea how this is going to turn out. I haven't done a test. So you guys are actually witnessing my testing with the transfer sheets and these Koozies, because again, it's nothing that I have done before. So I have my settings set at 385 degrees, and this is going to apply for a full 40 seconds. So you'll notice that this is a much longer dwell time than, you know, your standard like heat transfer vinyl or any applications we've done with screen print transfers and heat transfer vinyl. So definitely a longer dwell time. All right, so another thing you want to be sure of whenever you are. Oh my gosh, that turned out so cool. I'm so excited. Okay, so the first application was a success, but what I was getting ready to say before I got so excited was you want to make sure whenever you're working with sublimation paper that you're not getting any ghosting. And what that means is if you are putting the transfer paper down and it shifts as you're locking the press down, you'll start to see a repeating pattern from the sublimation. And it's mostly noticeable whenever you're working with like text or something like that in a design. All right, so that's how the tie-dye one came out. So like I said, the colors show a lot brighter when they're heat applied as opposed to how they look on the paper. So they will definitely be a lot brighter and true to color of the pattern that you ordered. So now we're going to do the other side of this. So we'll place that down. And we're going to do the same thing with the nautical one. So that's how that turned out. All right, and again, temperature and application settings all set up. So the press just does the work for me once I lock that down. Again, we're at 385 degrees and we're applying for a full 40 seconds. After this, I am probably going to have my temperature dropped a good bit because I don't want these to go on at such a high temperature. I know glitter flake will be fine because we sublimate our white glitter flake and I know it can withstand that high heat and temperature, but sometimes it's too much for the product and it can actually look like overcooked almost on there. All right. So my concern with these was, you know, not being able to get the pattern all the way over on the edge of those seams. So you'll notice a little bit of white there, but overall, I think it did pretty well. All right, so this is going to look really cute on there with the peach Fashionfilm Electric. We won't have to worry about any dye migration. And the tie-dye one turned out really cool too. So I think this one is less noticeable where the white is just because there's white kind of woven throughout the pattern as a whole. But overall, we got a really, really good print. All right, so like I said, I want to make sure I'm dropping this a bit. So I just don't want to apply it that high of a temperature. If I'm down at like 340, that's not so bad, but I'm not going to make you guys wait for it to go down a whole 85 degrees, but 340 won't be bad if we can get to that. but we want to aim to be at like 320 for these applications. So Fashionfilm applies at 320. Glitter Flake applies at 302. It used to be an application for 320 degrees. So it's not going to hurt it to be applied at 320. So whenever you are placing your heat transfer vinyl on the Koozies, just make sure that you're going up high enough so that whenever this actually has a can placed inside, this piece is going to be completely flat. So you want to make sure it's not looking too low on there. So always go a little bit higher than you would typically if this was just flat. That way it doesn't look like the design dropped at all. All right, so while we're waiting for that to cool down, let's go ahead and look at some comments. All right, so Karen says, please put blowout paper down to protect your press and ink migration. So as I mentioned earlier, I am not like a pro when it comes to sublimation, so I'm not sure what blowout paper is. So Karen, if you could just kind of comment in and let me know what that is, that way I can use that tip for future reference. All right, so yeah, then Sharon says, don't you need paper under your paper under to protect your heat platen? So the most thing that I was worried about, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but the most thing that I was worried about was any ink getting to the upper heating element as opposed to on this platen, which I don't see any dye on there for the most part because this is like a light gray. So I'm not sure that it actually adhered to this, but there's a possibility it definitely could have. So what I'm going to do is actually take this craft paper and place it down there and press it and see if anything transfers for me. But you're right. You definitely want to make sure, and this goes for anything sublimation. If you buy something pre-sublimated, always make sure that you are using a transfer paper so that nothing's actually transferring onto the next thing that you're going to load on there, like a white garment where this ink would definitely transfer. So nothing from the upper heating element and nothing from, or maybe a little bit from the bottom. Yeah, there is a little bit there. So good point. Thank you for commenting that in. Make sure to use craft paper. This is a really easy throwaway, so I would definitely recommend this over a like Teflon sheet, but I don't know what blowout paper is. So, oh, butcher paper. Okay. All right, so I think that we're at a decent temperature here to be able to put this on. Yeah, we're at 339. So I'll go ahead and put this down and then grab another cover sheet too. Practice safe sublimation. All right, so we have our everything all lined up there. Now I'm going to make sure I definitely have something on top here. And now I need to decrease my pressure a little bit because I increased it to see if anything would transfer over to that craft paper. Right, so this is only a 10-second application for these, so I'm not gonna have that. I forgot to change my dial back, so I'm not gonna wait for that to apply for the full 40 seconds. All right, so that's the completed look. So Fashionfilm Electric does have a little bit of a metallic sheen to it. Not to be confused with like glossy heat transfer vinyl. This is definitely more of a metallic look, but overall a really good quality product for putting on sublimation so that no inks migrate through. So hopefully you guys can see how well that holds up against the sublimation. All right, so really great way to profit with sublimation is by being able to do really cool accessories and pair different medias with it so that you can compete with other people that are doing sublimation as well. So this is a really cool piece. I love this. And then this one turned out really cool well. So I love how the glitter flake looks up against that tie-dye. Right, so really awesome and cool stuff that you can do with sublimation. Koozies, really just scratching the surface there with all that you can do with sublimation. I did order some other stuff from Condi that I'm really excited to try out, so I'll be sure to share the static videos of those with you guys later on. Anything from pillows to sequin bags, or pillowcases, I guess I should say. Sequin bags and just some other like tote bag accessories that feel and look like canvas, but they're all polyester so that they can be sublimated. So again, I source these items from Condi. And then once again, I'll show you where you can source the sublimation pattern transfers. So again, under the CAD Cut Direct heat transfer vinyl section, you'll select patterns. It'll bring you to our patterns wizard. And then you will select what pattern you want in whatever colorway you want. If you want to choose your own colors to go into that pattern, you can do that. Really unique way to work with patterns. That's why I like our patterns so much, because we have really cool, just like stock designs in there. And then you get to choose the colors that go into it. All right, and then as you are checking out, Express Print is our matte heat transfer vinyl. It looks like this with the pattern. So this is a roll of the Express Print matte heat transfer vinyl for our patterns. Glitter is an option, so it looks and feels just like our glitter flake, but it is a printable glitter. And then sign vinyl as well, but now sublimation. So that is what I selected when checking out, so that I could get the 14 by 20 sublimation paper. And it comes in a pack like this. All right, so you get 3 sheets for every one that you order. So you can see at the bottom of the screen there that I have 1 as my quantity, and then it gives me 3 total sheets. So keep that in mind whenever you are ordering these. Right, so again, 14 by 20, very easy to order and work with. And then the blanks were sourced from Condi. All right, so just some other comments that are coming in. Let's go ahead and check them out. So Russell asked, could you have done rhinestones on top of the koozies over top of the sublimation? Yeah, so that's what's nice about sublimation and mixing different medias, is because the ink is adhering directly to the fibers. They're interlocking with that. There's nothing actually laying over top. So it's not going to cause any issue for anything else to adhere to it, any other adhesive. So anything that can adhere to 100% polyester, that is going to be able to apply just as easy as if you didn't sublimate it. The only thing you want to consider is it going to migrate through? I'm not familiar with people having issues of the ink migrating through rhinestones. But if anybody that's watching now has experience with that, feel free to comment in and kind of elaborate on that if you have had experience with that. But I'm pretty sure that they do not. All right, let's see. So Vicky says she's used butcher paper and it still went through. So again, not the expert here on sublimation. I can do some cool stuff with it, but as far as what it will adhere to and migrate through, if it's adhered to your platen through that, then probably using something like a fabric or something like that that's a little bit thicker or more durable to keep it from migrating through could help. All right. And then Karen says it should be unwaxed. So anything that doesn't have wax on it would be perfect for that. And that kind of goes for a lot of other transfers too. So just beyond sublimation, if you are using something that's waxed and you put it on something that has like a matte finish, it will actually make it look glossy. So keep that in mind too, as far as your other heat applications go, because that wax can adhere to your matte heat transfer vinyl and make it seem as though it's a glossy finish as opposed to a matte finish, which some people do like the glossy finish, but if it's me, I like the matte just because it mimics the look of ink more so than a vinyl. All right. Another great tip from Karen, make sure you lint roll before subbing. Big tip there, because if any lint is on there, it's going to make it look like it's speckled or something, because it's keeping that ink from migrating directly to the shirt. All right. So butcher paper let it go through, but the craft paper did not let it go through. So another great tip there from Vicky. And then Janessa says some of the ink could gas off on the cover sheet while pressing the stones, but probably not enough to be an issue. All right, so thank you for that. All right. All right, looks like we have all the comments answered and any comments looked through and questions answered. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. Josh will be back with you guys tomorrow, and I will be back with you guys on Friday. I'm actually testing out more transfer paper. It's not for sublimation, but it's more for just like those inkjet desktop printers. So I hope to have some content ready for Friday just to go over some of those transfer papers and go just beyond some of the heat transfer vinyl projects we have done. So that's what we'll be talking about on Friday, and I hope to see you guys then. Have a great week.